Everything you've been told about retirement timing is wrong. Most of us grew up hearing the same story. Work until you are 65, save what you can, and retire comfortably. That sounds safe, right? But that timeline is outdated, and it is costing people decades of their freedom. You are trading your most energetic years for a promise that might never be fulfilled the way you imagine. By the end of this video, you will know the real timeline the wealthy follow to escape the rat race while they are still young enough to enjoy it. The default retirement path is a conveyor belt. You go to school, you get the degree, you land the job, and you chase promotions. You tell yourself that once you hit 60 or 65, you can finally travel, start that hobby, or spend time with family. But there is a hidden assumption in that logic, the assumption that you will always have time later. The reality is that health declines, energy fades, and the world changes. You might have the money at 65, but will you have the physical health to hike the Alps? Will you have the mental drive to start a new venture? This creates a massive amount of emotional tension. We see it every day. Burnout in your 30s, missed opportunities in your 40s, and a sense of regret as the best years of your life are spent in a cubicle staring at a screen. The problem isn't the concept of retirement itself. The problem is when and how you are planning it. The core flaw in the traditional retirement timeline is the save first, live later mentality. Most people view their lives as a linear progression where they accumulate wealth slowly over 40 years. They wait until their income peaks in their 50s to start getting serious about their future. But this fails for several reasons. First, compounding works best when it has time, but most people delay significant investing because they want to live a little in their 20s. Second, your income usually peaks when your energy and time are at their lowest points. You are richest in time at 25, but you are often richest in money at 55. The tragedy of the modern worker is that they rarely have both at the same time. Smart people realize this and decide to flip the timeline entirely. Instead of waiting for the end of the road to experience freedom, they front load the sacrifice to buy back their time while they are still in their prime. They understand that $1 invested at 21 is worth significantly more than $1 invested at 41, yet most of the population spends their most valuable compounding years on depreciating assets or lifestyle upgrades they don't really need. This is the fundamental error, treating retirement as a destination at the end of a long career rather than a status you achieve as soon as possible. Let's look at the optimized retirement timeline. Phase 1 is acceleration, which should ideally happen in your 20s and 30s. During this stage, your primary focus is not comfort, it is aggressive skill building and income growth. This is the period where you need to have a high savings rate. I'm not talking about the standard 10%. I'm talking about living well below your means so you can funnel 40 or 50% of your income into income producing assets. The key idea here is to buy back your future freedom early. Think about what happens if you delay this by just 10 years. If you start investing heavily at 25, you are playing the game on easy mode. If you wait until 35, you have to work twice as hard and save twice as much just to end up in the same place. Acceleration is about building the engine that will eventually run on its own. You are developing the habits and the wealth building strategies that act as your foundation. It requires a level of intensity that most people aren't willing to endure, but it sets the stage for a life that most people can't imagine. Phase 2 is optionality, typically occurring in your 30s and 40s. This is the point where your investments begin to cover a significant portion of your basic expenses. You haven't reached full retirement yet, but something magical happens. Your career becomes optional, not mandatory. This is when you can introduce the concept of mini retirements or radical career flexibility. Instead of grinding for another 20 years, you might take a 6-month sabbatical or move to a part-time role that you actually enjoy. While most people are just starting to panic about their retirement accounts in their 40s, you are already testing the waters of freedom. You aren't tied to a paycheck because you've built a buffer that allows you to say no to bad bosses and unfulfilling work. This stage is about shifting from how much can I earn to how do I want to spend my day. You are effectively using an optimized retirement timeline to reclaim your middle years. Finally, we reach phase 3. Freedom. This usually happens in your late 40s or early 50s on the optimized timeline, though many achieve it much sooner. At this point, work becomes a total choice. Your income from assets is greater than your expenses, but we need to reframe what retirement looks like here. It isn't about stopping work and sitting on a beach for 40 years. That's a recipe for boredom and decline. It's about choosing what to work on without the pressure of a price tag. You might start a nonprofit, mentor others, or dive into a creative project. You have achieved the ultimate goal, the alignment of money, time, and health. This is the stage where you achieve financial freedom early and live on your own terms. Why do people still get this so wrong? There are three main reasons. First is social conditioning. We are raised with the retire at 65 script embedded in our minds. It's what our parents did and what our neighbors are doing. Breaking away from that feels risky, even when the traditional path is actually the riskier one. Second is lifestyle inflation. As soon as people get a raise, they buy a bigger house or a faster car. They are literally building their own cages with gold bars. They trade their future freedom for a temporary hit of dopamine from a new purchase. Third is the fear of short-term sacrifice. People are terrified of living like a student for a few years in their 20s, even if it means they could live like a king for the rest of their lives. There is a sharp truth here. People often trade 10 years of comfort now for 30 years of dependency later. They choose the immediate gratification of a luxury lifestyle today at the expense of being trapped in a job they hate for the next 3 decades. They prioritize looking wealthy over actually being wealthy. So how do you fix this? You need a simple system you can start today. First, calculate your freedom number. A rough rule of thumb is your annual expenses multiplied by 25 or your monthly expenses multiplied by 300. This gives you a clear target for your total portfolio. Second, focus on increasing your income, not just your savings. You can only cut so many lattes, but your earning potential is theoretically uncapped. Look for side hustles, invest in new skills, or negotiate your salary. Third, automate your investing early. Take the decision making out of it. If the money never hits your checking account, you won't miss it. Use automatic transfers to your brokerage or retirement accounts the day you get paid. Finally, avoid the lifestyle creep traps. When you get that next promotion, keep your expenses exactly the same and invest the difference. This keeps your freedom number from moving further away every time you make more money. Keep it simple and implementable. You don't need a complex strategy, you just need a consistent one that prioritizes your future self. Let's visualize two different futures. Imagine person A. They follow the traditional timeline. They spend their 30s and 40s spending everything they earn to keep up with the Joneses. By the time they hit 55, they are stressed, tired, and stuck working a high-pressure job just to maintain their mortgage and car payments. They finally retire at 67, but their health has declined, and they've lost the zest for adventure they had in their youth. Now imagine person B. They followed the optimized retirement timeline. They lived simply in their 20s, invested aggressively, and by 45, they have the freedom to do whatever they want. They are still young, healthy, and full of energy. They spend their days on their terms, traveling, learning, and giving back. The difference between these two people wasn't just luck, it was the timeline they chose to follow. It was the decision to prioritize time over things. Retirement isn't about an age. It's about timing your money and your life correctly. It's about realizing that time is your most precious asset and refusing to sell it for less than it's worth. If you want more breakdowns on how to master your money and your time, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your future self will thank you for making the change today. Start now, because every day you wait is a day of freedom you are giving away. Your life is happening right now, not 30 years from today. Choose the timeline that leads to freedom.